Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video I would like to show you my Galvanic and Lightning Arrow Pathfinder. I'll start the video by showing some gameplay, and after that I will talk about how I build character. The two core items of this build are Asenath's Chant and Malachi's Artifice. Asenath's Chant makes it so that whenever you attack with a bow skill, you will trigger a socketed spell. In this helm we are using three different spells. First of all, Wave of Conviction to apply lightning exposure to enemies, which is an insane damage boost. We use Assassin's Mark to generate power charges and also gain extra damage. And finally, we use a Steel Skin with increased duration in here, so that you will trigger Steel Skin whenever it's off cooldown. All of these spells will be triggered as you are attacking, so this helm gives you a lot of really nice things for free. And Malachi's Artifice makes it so that socketed gems have elemental equilibrium, and we are using a Vortex in here, because Vortex is an instant cast spell that you can use while you're attacking. Our Vortex will apply elemental equilibrium to enemies, to reduce their lightning resistance by 50%, which is an insane amount of damage boost. As you can see, the build has insane damage and clear speed, and it's also super smooth to play because it's a Pathfinder. The build is also fairly tanky as well. We get around 5.5k life, a lot of dodge and evasion from our passive tree and gear. We are using Blood and Sand to blind nearby enemies. We get Steel Skin whenever it's off cooldown thanks to Asenath's Chant, and if you'd prefer, you can also use Kintsugi's for even more tankiness. Okay, so let's quickly go over the gear. Using Asenath's Chant, as I've said earlier, it makes it so that whenever you attack with a bow, you will trigger socketed spells. In here we have Steel Skin, Assassin's Mark, and then Wave of Conviction. As you can see, while you're attacking, you will trigger these spells. It won't trigger all the spells at once, but when you're fully buffed, you will have a lot of attack speed. So you can pretty much trigger all the spells within just a second. On top of that, it gives you some attack speed and movement speed, so it's a really nice item for this build. We are also using a Malachi's Artifice. It makes it so that socketed gems have elemental equilibrium, and we are using Vortex in here since Vortex is an instant cast spell that you can use while you're attacking. Your Vortex will apply elemental equilibrium to enemies to reduce their lightning resistance by 50%, which is an insane damage boost. The only thing to keep in mind here is that you don't want any lightning damage on your Vortex, so be aware of that when you're looking for gear. Also keep in mind that this item alone will pretty much cap your lightning resistance, since it will give you 100 lightning resistance. Keep that in mind as well. For your body armor, there's two options here. Kintsugi is your best bet for survivability, because this is an amazing item for dodge based characters. It will keep you from getting blown up randomly. But if you're not doing the hardest content in the game, you can also go for an Impulsas. It will give you some extra damage while mapping, and on top of that it will give you those satisfying explosions. The explosions really don't matter for clear, they're pretty much just aesthetics, so it's up to you. The clear will be just fine by using a Kintsugi as well. For your bow, there's two options once again. Chinsol is probably your best bet for the highest damage possible, but if you're not planning on doing the hardest content in the game, you can also go for Death's Opus. Death's Opus has just a little bit less damage, but it will also give you 2 additional arrows on your Lightning Arrow and Galvanic Arrow, which will increase your clear speed, so keep that in mind. For your gloves, you want Hunter influenced items with that third mod, chance to intimidate enemies for 4 seconds on hit. Intimidate will give you 10% more attack damage, which is super nice. If you're able to cap your resistances without these, you can also go for Tomb Fist. Tomb Fist will also give you Intimidate, and then you can put in the Abyssal Jewel here for some extra damage. Ideally, you'd want something like this with an open suffix, so that you can craft the increased attack and cast speed while focused mod, which will give you a lot of burst. For your boots, Tailwind boots would be amazing if you can afford it. Tailwind will give you a lot of attack and movement speed, which is super nice. And also, if you can get this enchant, it will give you a little bit of damage boost against bosses, which is super nice as well, so keep that in mind. For your belt, you want some life, resistances, elemental damage with attack skills. And then if you manage to get a belt with open prefix, you can craft that last mod, which will give you a lot of flask effects, which is super nice. Stygian Vise is the best option here, because you can put in the Abyssal Jewel here for some extra life and damage. But if you can't afford the Stygian Vise, you can just go for any base, that's totally fine. For your quiver, you want some life, crit multi, resistances, and elemental damage with attack skills. You can look for open prefix quivers to craft the last mod yourself. Elemental damage with attack skills, that might be cheaper and easier to find. Ideally, you want some additional arrows in here as well, either from Corruption or Shaped Influence. For your other ring, you want some life, elemental damage with attack skills, resistances, and I would highly recommend looking for some strength or intelligence on all of your gear, because we need a lot of strength and intelligence for some gems. For your amulet, once again, you want some life, elemental damage with attacks, resistances, crit multi if you can afford it, and as I've said earlier, getting some strength and intelligence would be amazing. Keep that in mind. So that's all the gear. Okay, so for Flasks, Divine Life Flask of Staunching for the bleed removal, Diamond Flask of Warding for the curse removal. This is always your go-to. Cinder Swallow is super nice because it gives you a lot of recovery, damage against ignited enemies. And then if you manage to get a one with crit chance, that crit chance will be scaled by the Pathfinder's Flask effectiveness, which ends up giving you a lot of crit chance, so it's amazing once again. Vessel of Vinctar, like chocks nearby enemies, gives you added lightning damage to your attacks, and then also gives you a lot of leech. If you want, you can also use Dying Sun in here for some like extra clear speed, but Vessel of Vinctar ends up giving more damage, so keep that in mind. That's all the flasks. Okay, so for gems, we are linking our Galvanic Arrow with Barrage, elemental damage with attack skills, added lightning damage, elemental focus, and then slower projectiles. If you can't afford the 6th link, you can drop this. We are linking Lightning Arrow with elemental damage with attack skills, greater multiple projectiles, awakened form, added lightning damage, and then Barrage Archer. If you can't afford the 6th link, you can drop either of these, whichever you would prefer. In our helm, we have Steel Skin, Assassin's Mark, Wave of Conviction, and then increased duration for that Steel Skin. In our boots, we have Wrath, Enlighten, Precision, and then Flesh and Stone. If you want, you can drop Flesh and Stone and then use Herald of Ice for some satisfying explosions, but it's not really needed for clear, and this is your best fit for like survivability, so keep that in mind. In our gloves, we have Summon Ice Golem for some extra crit chance. If you're going to use Tomb Fist, I would recommend that you drop this. Blood Rage for some extra attack speed and frenzy charge generation. Flame Dash as your movement ability. And then finally, I'm using a Val Haste here to burst down map bosses, Metamorphs, Conquerors, whatever. You can also go for Val Grace here for some more tankiness. So that's all the gems. Okay, so for passive tree, we are playing Pathfinder, of course. Pathfinder is super nice because you get a lot of attack speed, movement speed, flask effectiveness, duration, charges gained, whatever. We get ailment immunity, which makes it so that we don't have to worry about things like freezes, shocks, ignites. We get some penetration in here, a lot of damage as well. So it's a super nice ascendancy. When you're looking for jewels, you can either look for abyssal jewels with some life, crit quality, lightning damage to attacks, attack speed maybe, or look for regular jewels with once again life, crit multi, projectile damage, lightning damage maybe, whatever. Please check the description for PoE.trade links with setup filters for jewels. We are taking point blank, of course, taking acrobatics, phase acrobatics for survivability. I will let you take a look at the passive tree. I will also put Path of Building link in the description if you want to like copy it from there. Anointment options, Arcing Blows is your best bet for like the highest damage possible. But if you're looking to cap your resistances, having problems capping your resistances, you can also go for Holy Dominion, which will make things easier for you. So I guess that's it about the passive tree. For Pantheons, Soul of Shikari is your best bet for mapping because this will give you immune to poison. And then for bossing, you can swap to Soul of Rislatha. This will give you a lot of flask charges on your life flasks. This coupled with Nature's Boon will make it so that you have a lot of sustain in boss fights, which is amazing. And for the big Pantheons, you can go for whatever you want. I went for Soul of Solaris, but I don't think it matters so much, so it's up to you. Okay, I guess that's it about the build. I will include the leveling section at the end of the video as well. But for now, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. I would really appreciate that. And finally, before I leave, I stream on twitch.tv/orgoergle. So if you want to just come chill with me, ask me some questions, whatever, feel free to do that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, one of the biggest things that you can do to make leveling easy is probably crafting gloves like these. As you can see, these gloves have like no level requirement, and they give you an insane amount of flat added damage. You can craft it by using frigid and the metallic fossils on a really low item level base. As you can see, this is like item level 3. You can kill Hilak a couple of times until he drops some gloves, and then use these fossils. This is like really easy to get, so this will help you out quite a lot in the early stages of the leveling. Other than that, you can get these items as well. I will just hover over them. These are like fairly cheap items. The corruption really doesn't matter. If you can't afford the 7 league step, you can also go for Wanderlust. For passive tree, you'd like want to start by grabbing these damage nodes. Get Aspect of the Evil Eagle, go down like this, get Druidic Rite, come here and like go for point blank, and after that go from here, get these damage nodes, go up, get these, and then from there like go rush to the shadow starting area, get this crit chance, get shocking strikes, and then you can fill out the rest. For ascendancy, I would recommend getting this first, this second, and then grab these final. For skills, you can use Rain of Arrows, Lightning Arrows, Split Arrow, doesn't really matter, whatever you want. And you can link that with like added lightning damage, added cold damage, elemental damage with attacks, faster attacks, Mirage Archer maybe. And you can also use like an Onslaught Jewel to get Onslaught early on. I guess that's it about the leveling as well. Thank you guys once again so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.